What's good, folks? Welcome to the Spalding Media Network. My name is Dylan Spalding. Hopefully, everyone is having a great Sunday evening. As you are watching this here, we actually are deciding to go live tonight. Why not? Let's have the fans interact with our boys tonight. We got Mike Fuji, the host of Fuji's Phil, on with us tonight, and also Tony Tornado is on with us here this evening. And we're going to talk a lot of fun stuff. We're going to talk a little bit more WrestleMania talk. We're going to talk some Philly sports. We're going to talk everything that's going on in the world of sports here in the U.S. It's been a busy sports weekend with the Masters going on. We had Scotty Scheffler grab his second green jacket as he's feeling a little bit green this weekend with his win at the Masters in Augusta, and some other news coming around baseball as well. A lot of great stuff going on there. So it's an exciting weekend, but without further ado, let's introduce the man who broke the Liberty Bell, Philly's favorite son, Mr. Mike Fuji.
Get the crowd moving. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Phil. Fuji's Phil. Tonight in the house, we have one of Philadelphia's favorite sons, a dear friend of mine. Everybody knows him down the ballpark. Mr. Apollo Creed himself, the Tornado. Tony, the Tornado Panical. Tony, welcome to episode 2.
What's up?
It's always a pleasure to have you on. You know, you and me go way back over 10 years. Chi-Town, Cubs, Phils, Wrigley Field. You know, you name it. Let's get the show rocking. How the hell are you? Dylan, how are you? Let's go.
I'm good, man.
I'm great. You know, Fuji, that series out in Chicago back in 2010, when we met out there, you know, the Phillies won 1 out of 4 games. You know which game they won, right? That's right.
Saturday game.
That's right. The ones we were at.
Right.
That was a great time, and like I said, a legendary trip because we still talk about it and how everything just fell perfectly.
And here we are.
All
these years later, and we're still reminiscing about
it. Yeah. You know, I last year, KYW did a big article on me. You were interviewed in it, and I thank you so much for, the kind words you said in that interview. And one of the things they did was they talked about where I came from and how I became who I am. And I'm a type of guy, you know me, that I'll meet anybody, anytime, any place. I enjoy meeting people. I believe that memories are more important than money. You just go out there, you enjoy what you do in life and getting a chance to meet people. And a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to meet Dick Vermeil. And I met Nick Foles. I saw Brandon Graham again. So when I said to Dick Vermeil, I said, same thing I said to Vince Papale a few years ago was, I'm supposed to be a Libra. I'm a Virgo. I'm supposed to be a Libra. My due date was September 29th, 1976. The debut game of Vince Papale and Dick Vermeil was September 12th, which was a Sunday afternoon, 1976, against the hated Dallas Cowboys in Texas Stadium. And the Eagles got shellacked. My mom went into labor at around 4 o'clock that day. So we're thinking, and someone's like, well, was she watching the game? My mom didn't watch sports back then. Not till she met my dad.
Matter of fact, not to cut you off, I think that might have been Vince Papale's first game as an Eagle because they actually show that in Invincible.
It's right. They showed it in Invincible. That was the Vermeil Papale debut against Dallas, and they got shellacked. And like I said, Mom, what time did you go into labor? Around 4 o'clock. I said, it makes sense because, I was wound up then. And then they said, fast forward a few years later, Eagles, January 25th, 1981, Eagles Super Bowl against the Raiders, heavily favored, going to win, going to bring the Lombardi Trophy to Philadelphia. My dad, I was 4 years old, made this huge banner, 10 feet long, green banner, and he had white tape, and he spelled out the word Eagles on it. And he put it in the yard. I was 4 years old, and I'm getting pictures, and I'm doing the little number 1 and the thumbs up, and I remember a lot of bad words. And a big knife coming down around halftime, and I was hooked ever since. So this Phillies persona that I did, we were going to a game, 1999. In fact, I just found the ticket stub of all things, a couple weeks ago, and it was July 3rd, 1999. Phillies were playing the Cubs, ironically.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I won this Uncle Sam hat at a carnival. It was one of the little felt ones you could get, like a Dr. Seuss style. I said, I'm going to wear it to the game and I'm going to paint my face red, white, and blue. Well, this was the old vet stadium where basically you sat in your seat. You didn't have Citizens Bank Park where you could walk around and have standing area. And my mom and my Aunt Carol, that you know, they both said, you do something so ridiculous, we don't want to be seen anywhere near you. I said, well, I was bluffing, but now I'm going to do it just because you told me not to. And then a few years later, I would wear it here to a game, wear it there to a game. Found one at Party City. It had the little sequins on it. And I wore it to a couple games in 08. And then I wore it to a couple playoff games. They win the World Series. That became the good luck charm. And then it just more from there. Then we go out to Chicago. I bring the hat with me. And as I was saying before we got on the air, there's a guy there. The Chicago me is wearing a Cubs jersey as opposed to my Phillies jersey. Red goatee opposed to my black goatee. And he had his exact same hat with the blue brim and the same sequins, but he had little Cub stickers on it and little baseballs. And I asked him for a photo, and he accommodated me. But then he stopped and got kind of like snarky. He said, you know, my hat's better than yours. You need to up your game. I was looked at him and I said, challenge accepted, buddy. Up yours. And a year later, I was at a job that I was very unhappy. And I said, well, how can I learn how to have fun again in life? Let me develop this Uncle Sam Apollo Creed persona. I found a woman to make me the original outfit in 2012. Had the police pin on it, and it was velvet. I mean, you remember it. And I wore that for 7 years till the Kelsey thing exploded, and we convinced Jim May, who was the mastermind behind the Kelsey parade outfit, to make my current, ensemble. And it just changed. So if you go back and look at that first photo of you and I have the cape, the hat. I had like a gray Philly shirt, a pair of blue jean shorts, white sneakers. There was that. Now it's like I got the ring, I got the wristbands, I got the earring, the American flag sunglasses, the Apollo Creed shorts, the knee socks, the tassels. It's grown in the 11 years or 12 years now that I've done it.
That's right. I mean, it's, you come along, with the second outfit, which, as you said, you had the gentleman that made Jason Kelsey's Mummers Super Bowl parade. And actually, Tony, wanted to dive in tonight. Just, you were WrestleMania last week.
Yes.
Last Sunday night. Dive into a little bit with us, and, we'll, talk about how you started your collegiate boxing career.
Yeah.
Amateur. Just tell us what the ambiance was. I mean, it had to be. Where were you? First of all, where were you sitting?
The nosebleeds. I was in section 207. So if you're familiar with Lincoln Financial Field, which I'm sure you are,
yes,
that was like if you were where when the Eagles get introduced, the tunnel they come out of.
Mm-hmm.
I was right above that.
Oh, okay.
The only thing
in
that
the corner.
Yeah, I was in the corner. So the only thing that was unfortunate about section 207 was the one light fixture did partially block the ring. So there were times on there you did have obstructed view. But personally, I did not care. Going back, you know how like certain things work out in life. When I when I was growing up, we lived in one house till I was about 6 years old, up until about 1983. And we could watch like Saturday night. They would have like Saturday night wrestling matches, and they were basically all like the superstars. Like at the time, be like the Iron Sheik, Bob Backlund, Sergeant Slaughter, those guys, and they would always beat up the no names. So that's all you would see. And then you might get like something here, something there, but it was like nothing to the spectacle of it is now, and the coverage on TV wasn't to what it is now. There was no Monday Night Wrestling, and we didn't have cable.
Right.
So in late 1983, my family moves, and when we moved, we got cable, and one of the cable channels we got was Prism, which was you could watch the Flyers, the Sixers, and the Phillies,
and wrestling from the
Spectrum. They also had monthly cards from the Spectrum.
Right.
Shortly after that, Hulk Hogan wins his first title, so now I was watching him every month watch at these Spectrum matches. And then a year later, my dad got to take me to one because it was a matinee card, so I wasn't out too late. I was 8 years old. And when they had the first WrestleMania, you couldn't get pay-per-views, so you had to go and watch it on closed circuit. And my dad took me. My dad and one of his coworkers, the three of us went. And I just remember watching it on the big screen, and Roddy Piper's coming out to the bagpipes, and they had the Junkyard Dog to Another One Bites the Dust. Now, Fuji, the main event, WrestleMania 1, Roddy Piper and Paul Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, they had Ace Cowboy Bob Orton in their corner. Liberace was the timekeeper. Muhammad Ali was the guest referee. Billy Martin was the ring announcer. Who did they wrestle in the first WrestleMania?
Mr. T and Hulk Hogan,
otherwise known as Thunder Lips and the Southside Slugger, Clubber Lang from Rocky III.
Yes, sir.
But I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and I was hooked, right? So, WrestleMania 2, watched it. Then you could get pay-per-view. I watched it over my friends. He had a wrestling birthday party. Amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I would watch those monthly cards religiously. And then I kind of got away from it a little bit around I was first getting into high school, and wrestling wasn't cool in 91-ish, 92-ish. So I was playing more football, and I got to college, and a couple guys in the room next to me were watching it. I went in the room, and I'm like, oh man, I knew some of the names. I knew the Bret Harts and the Shawn Michaels and the Kevin Nash, Undertaker. I knew the guys. I didn't know their stories as well, but I watched it. I was hooked again, and we started watching Monday Night Raw every week, and then we'd have the dueling Raw and Nitro, and we'd sometimes we'd get the WrestleMania pay-per-views, and then that morphed right into the Attitude Era. So it went from casually watching again to having a WrestleMania party. And WrestleMania 99 was in Philly. I was away that weekend. I was in Reno, Nevada, pre-planned trip. And so when this one was coming to Philly, I felt like the storyline for this year's WrestleMania was Cody Rhodes. He's finishing the show. He's got to win that title. He's got to finish the show. He's got to make his story, or finish the story. Finish your story. I was I feel like I'm finishing my story now. I'm that very first one I watched on the big screen, so grand, and now I'm there at Lincoln Financial Field, 73,000 people that night. I'm watching this huge back in the day, these guys would just walk down the aisle. Now you're watching these huge ramps and fireworks and pyro and everything. I'm it was amazing.
Plus, I know the Mummers I forget who they came out with.
Seth Rollins, the first match of Sunday night, because Seth Rollins always does the outlandish costumes. I'm at yesterday's game, and somebody goes to me, did you walk him to the ring at WrestleMania? I should have just said yes. I'm yep. Which string band are you? The one that walked him to the ring. Yeah, but which one? That one. Because I would have just been bullshitting. The guy was drunk, so I could have been the one that walked him to the ring. What's the name of it? It's called that band.
Just not to cut you off, but just what was the energy like, the ambiance, dive into just a little bit with just everything, the spectacle.
My that day, the show was going to start at 7:00 at night. I left my house at 8:00 in the morning.
Wow.
Left my house at 8:00 in the morning, drive train in the subway to go to the Access show at the convention center. And as I said on the show, Hulk Hogan was there. They were doing their Slammy Awards, and it was so many people there. I thought about dressing up. Some of my friends were going to do it. We're all hey, we should pick different characters and dress up, because we've done that for Halloween parties and WrestleMania parties. I've been Macho Man. I've been Hogan. I've been Hollywood Hogan. I've been all three faces of Foley, Dude Love, Mankind, Cactus Jack, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. Randy Savage was probably my best costume. And I made them all. And some of them look pretty good.
I could definitely see with the goatee. With
I've done a good Randy Savage. A lot of people think during my Phillies persona that I look like Buff Bagwell, and I think because of the tall hat and the goatee.
Right. Well, yeah. Somebody,
the best comment I ever got. Somebody said that I look like Mick Foley dressed as Randy Savage, dressed as Apollo Creed.
I could definitely see the Mick Foley.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Mick Foley.
Yeah,
I mean, it's coincidental you say that about Buff Bagwell because they actually did a. I don't know if you
Dark Side of the Ring.
Exactly.
Love it
on the Voice channel.
Yeah, love that show.
They just did an episode a couple weeks ago about Buff Bagwell.
Yeah, Tony, would you go full Mick Foley and jump off the Hell in the Cell or jump off the ladder? Or...
Well, here's the problem. I don't like heights.
Okay.
I am. Yeah.
What about like a flaming table? Like, what about that? Thumbtacks, like
the thumbtack.
barbed wire.
I'd probably end up doing the thumbtacks before I went off the cell.
Barbed wire would be kind of cool. Barbed wire would be awesome.
Terry Funk.
Yeah. You know when
in Japan.
The first Halloween party we had when I was in we had like a few like things in my dorm and all that. And you would just like you'd buy like a random like vampire costume or zombie costume or whatever, and just do the makeup and all. But when I had my house up there was 1997, and Dude Love had just debuted that persona of Mick Foley where he was like the hippie, and someone's like, "You got to be Dude Love," and I'm like, okay. So I just bought a random tie-dye shirt. So
don't forget about Mankind, not the
Mankind. I was a year later, and someone goes, "Well, how did you do the Mankind costume?" Because at the time I really didn't have that much money, and I didn't know if you could even buy a Mankind mask. But I wasn't planning to do that. I got an old belt, and I have pictures of this. I took a black belt that was pretty worn up, cut it up, and I used black belt rubber bands and black electrical tape to make the Mankind mask.
Oh, wow.
And it looked okay. Then years later, when I say years later, I'm talking like 5 years ago, I actually bought a replica of the Mankind mask, like a rubber version of it, which I then wore for a Halloween costume. And then probably of the three faces of Foley, I would probably say Cactus Jack was my best costume.
Right.
Because I had the Wanted Dead or Alive shirt, the flannel shirt. I had a wig. I had a leopard print bandana, and then I just taped my hands up, and then I put leopard print around my wrestling or my boxing shoes, and I was like, I was literally a perfect Cactus Jack. I was like, but I'm not missing the teeth. Yeah, that's the one thing I can't do.
If you think about it, Mick Foley's actually got 5 faces because in WWE he was early Jack Foley.
Yes, he was.
That's right.
Nick Foley.
The one time they called him Nick Farley.
Wasn't he in
6 faces now?
Wasn't he in WCW under that name too? I think
he was under Cactus Jack in WCW.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I'll have to send you, and I think you'll really like it. And Mike's might have seen it before. I do video editing as a hobby. I'm not good at it, but I'll do it more for fun. Like I do it for when family members hit like a milestone birthday, and I'll make a video of music and all that. Well, I made a video of my best wrestling costumes, and it's set to each guy's theme. So it'll start off and it'll start off with Dude Love because that was the first one I did, and it'll show 2 pictures of Dude Love, and the one was him and Steve Austin, and a friend of mine came to the party that night in a Stone Cold Austin 316 shirt. He had shaved head. He taped his wrist up, and he was Steve Austin, and we did our photo together. Then it will jump to like Randy Savage. It'll then jump to Hulk Hogan, and it'll play each guy's music as it shows the pictures of me dressed as them.
Sweet. And yeah, Dylan.
Yeah, Tony, just kind of touching base on WrestleMania. I mean, that main event was pretty special, right? I mean, like you had everybody in there. It was kind of the not only the culmination of a story, but it was also kind of the end of eras. Like it was kind of the end of the Attitude Era, and then obviously the Ruthless Aggression Era with John Cena. It was kind of like the end of all these previous eras, and now people are saying this is a new era, a new generation, a new aura of wrestling. I mean, what do you feel like about that main event? What do you think was different about that main event than others that you've seen?
Well, first of all, I thought the way they pulled off the main event was amazing. And as I was telling you, I was sitting in section 207. So when I would look to my left, I would see the rampway coming to the ring. So that's why I could see the mummers and all come down. So when the main event's going on and Jimmy Uso jumps in the ring, you hear the Jey Uso music and you see him run down the aisle, and then you can see them fight on the rampway, spear off the rampway. The second one is you see Who was it next? Solo Sikoa comes down, then John Cena runs down. I'm videoing John Cena running down. Okay, good. Now the Undertaker music gongs. I put my camera and I'm videoing the ramp.
Right.
He comes from under the ring, and I'm like, I turn all I got was the choke slam.
Well, the thing of it was, the rumor came out this week that Stone Cold was supposed to be behind The Rock, but they said the contract, I guess the negotiations broke down, and apparently Stone Cold, the money just wasn't.
Yeah,
they didn't agree to it. So I guess they used the Undertaker to, bring the, to attack The Rock.
Yeah, I heard the same thing about Stone because we were all waiting for the glass to break, and then it gonged, and we were like, I mean, it was still pretty cool. I mean, it's the Undertaker.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things you were asking about the changing of the era, and I did notice it because you've been dealing with the thing over the last so many months now with the Vince McMahon and all these allegations. I'm not going to even talk to them because I don't know the whole story.
Right.
But he's pretty much selling all of his like thousands of dollars worth or millions of dollars worth of shares. I think it's like $7.8 million worth of shares in TKO, which is the company that now owns the WWE brand. Right. Vince is selling all of his shares. And in the beginning of night 2, Stephanie McMahon comes out to the ring and she says, I want to welcome you to the Paul Levesque, the Triple H era. Right. And one of the things that he is putting an emphasis on is professional wrestling, not sports entertainment. And he goes, I love professional wrestling. Because the sports entertainment thing has been, for the last 20 some years, 30 some years, I should say, that way they could beat the state taxes.
Wow.
Did not know. You never hear that. It was back in like 1988 or 89 because they used to have like a ringside physician there. There's like a normal sporting event. Because they said, no, we are not a legitimate sporting event. We are sports entertainment. That way they didn't have the ringside physician had to be there, and they didn't have to pay, say it was in Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission.
Right.
Didn't have to pay their fees because it's not a sporting event. It's an entertainment event.
Right.
So that's how they got around that 38 years ago.
I remember going to the Civic Center with NWA, National Wrestling Alliance at the time, and the Spectrum. And I remember the ring announcer, or the MC, if you will, would always mention the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission.
Yeah,
exactly. I forget what he used to say, but I recall thinking back now.
Yeah. These matches are in accordance with the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission.
So that's actually pretty interesting to see. Yeah. Triple H go back, to.
And I mean, obviously, they're not going to make it like it's a legitimate sporting event,
Right.
But he's going to, because they even said the announcer did not say it in the exact words, but they said, Vince McMahon really made his bones as the announcer, and he had all his little catchphrases. What a maneuver! 1, 2. He got him. No, he didn't. Oh my God! And then then like Vince used to for the longest time want to control the way his announcers announced. So he'd be in like the earpiece the whole time, like yelling at them, like, no, say this, no, say this. Yep. And they're like, Triple H is like, no, you guys, you're my announcers, announce. Right. So they're like, someone like inferred to Michael Cole, like, how'd you feel without being screamed in your ear the whole time?
Matter of fact, I'm thinking back now, not to cut you off. Apparently somebody told me this years ago, and I don't know if it ever actually really surfaced. If you remember the first match of the first WrestleMania,
Tito Santana and the Executioner.
And they said the Executioner was
Playboy Buddy Rose.
I heard Vince McMahon.
Nah. Oh no, look, watch that match. Yeah, Vince McMahon was way too jacked to be that. It was Playboy Buddy Rose.
Really?
Yeah. I'll definitely look at it. Yeah. That's Vince McMahon. If you ever look, like Vince McMahon was jacked.
I remember during the whole steroid thing. He started, if you remember back then, and I think Lex Luger was a part of this when he was in WWF. Vince started some bodybuilding.
World Bodybuilding Federation.
Right. And I remember Lex Luger was a part of it.
Yep. Yes, he
when
was.
He was like captain, whatever is.
He was like first he was the narcissist, and then he became like the Lex Express.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like the whole USA.
Yeah.
No, and they were putting him on the bus tour going
Yep.
around.
Yep. He was going to fight Yokozuna and defend America. But now, if you go back, you look at that first WrestleMania. That was Playboy Buddy Rose played the Executioner because he was a good bump man, and they wanted somebody that would be in there dependable, just to give a good, quick, opening show. That was a good bump man, and yeah, he was. That was before Buddy Rose gained like 150 pounds. He was in like somewhat decent condition, but like he wasn't jacked. Like even like Vince, you would never tell at the time because he used to wear those he'd wear those suits.
Right.
But then like years later, you'd see then he'd start wearing the suit sizes smaller. That way he could like look really.
You could see he was jacked.
Yeah.
But the thing, I mean, that's nothing. I know, Dylan, you won't remember Tito Santana, but that was kind of like a demotion for Tito Santana because Tito Santana was, I believe he was tag team champions with Ivan Putski, and then he beat Magnificent Morocco for the Intercontinental title.
I think what they were doing there was because then he had gone out, like he got injured from Greg the Hammer Valentine, hurt his knee with the figure four. So then he was coming back to seek his revenge.
Right. And then just, he kind of like fell out of favor, I guess, with Vince McMahon at that time.
Well, like I said, I think they were just because then he won back the Intercontinental title shortly after that, and then he lost it to Savage like a year or so later.
That's right.
Let me ask you this, Tony. With the way the product is now, you're seeing much more of a. You could definitely tell UFC is partially has a hand in this, or you could tell at least that TKO, Endeavor, like this whole entire partnership, you could tell that they are trying to be UFC light in the way they are. I mean, obviously we've seen a lot more press conferences. We've seen more usage of advertisements. That was kind of my one big really takeaway is the advertisements, because you're watching a big match like Cody versus Roman, and it's going to be remembered for years because it is the biggest match in one of the biggest matches in WrestleMania history. But you're going to see in the background American Mortgage, like advertisement. Like what are your thoughts about it? I mean, like I understand from a, trying to make it more kind of UFC light, if you will, in regards to the presentation of it, but like at the end of the day, it is pro wrestling. Like, you gotta be more natural with the way the product is.
One of the things I thought of on Saturday, because like I said, Sunday, I only watched the replay of the main event a day or two later, the Cody and Roman match. But Saturday night, as you're watching everything, and you're right, like between every match there was like a 2-minute commercial, and I'm like, you never used to get that on pay-per-view. You might get something for like an upcoming show, but like, okay, yeah, like say you ordered like a UFC fight and you have two guys that are going to fight here, they might say, hey, and don't forget, in a month we're going to have this UFC fight. So they're basically advertising their own product. This one, they were advertising everything.
They even had long commercials that actually cut into entrances. Like Logan Paul had his entrance, and right as like the commercial cut, it was like he was already like halfway through his entrance. I was like, this is stupid.
It reminded me of that scene in Major League 2 when Roger Dorn was selling like advertisements around the stadium. It's like, if anybody's looking for a good proctologist, just look at the left field wall.
Oh man. So as far as go ahead.
Well, say like with the new era, like you went from the golden era, which was the 80s, the Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, Junkyard Dog, all those guys. Then you went to the new generation era, which was like the early to mid 90s. Then which morphed to the attitude era, the ruthless aggression era. Then it kind of went to the PG era, where there was no more bloodshed. There was, no more. It was like the anti-attitude era almost. And some of that was good. Some of the attitude era stuff was a little classless.
And I would say the PG era kind of ran from 2009 to probably like 2014, 15, and then that started kind of morphing into, I mean, once Roman started building himself up, you could say this became a new era in itself. I mean,
true.
I don't even know what you would even call this era, but I don't know. It's kind of tough. I think we're gonna figure out a name for this era as we get through this new era. Now that we're in,
like the ruthless aggression era, is because John Cena just came out and was like, I have ruthless aggression, and they're like, okay, great, that's what we're gonna start marketing everything behind. Right. And then you're right, the PG era started. You're right, it was like near the end of like the Shawn Michaels time frame, because he was still blading probably up until about 06-ish.
No, he also had his back injuries where, he had multiple back surgeries.
Yeah.
His run was pretty much done after he, lost to Stone Cold, and that was...
Well, he was gone for 4 years, and he came back, and he was back for a good 8 years after that.
Well, he wasn't supposed to wrestle again, from what I heard.
No, he wasn't. And then, like I said, he came back for one match, and it was like, okay, it wasn't too bad.
Right.
And 8 years later, he retired again.
Well, you got to remember, after he was with the Midnight Rockers with Marty Jannetty, he started, DX with Triple H in China. And, part of that Attitude Era.
I tried doing the DX chop.
We got 2 words for you.
Blank.
Yeah.
We're on the PG era here on YouTube. Yeah, we can't do anything on YouTube.
Before
the greatest was when it was Triple H and Shawn Michaels would do the intro to DX.
Oh God, yeah.
It was like, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world. I forgot the rest of it. But...
that was the funniest part. DIY did this past weekend was doing the DX. That was great. That was fantastic.
I like the Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods doing the Rocky and Apollo spoof.
That was cool too.
Right. That was really cool.
What's interesting is actually Xavier Woods used to be Consequences Creed. Actually, that was his name back during his TNA days, and he had Truth or Consequences was his tag team with Jay Lethal back in TNA. So that actually was something that he's done before in prior promotions.
I didn't realize how old R-Truth is. He's 52.
Yeah, because I remember he was breaking in with the Road Dogg back in like the late 90s.
He was K-Quick.
Yeah, K-Quick. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Wow.
It pains me when I hear on broadcast, oh, here goes R-Truth. He's paying homage to his childhood hero, John Cena.
I thought that was the best because I thought that was hilarious because I think they were spoofing him so much. Like he would try to make a tag and it was a non-tag match. He would go for a pin in a match there was no pins. Then they're like, oh, his hero John Cena, even though like he's older than him.
He's like older than him by like 4 years.
It's
crazy. It's freaking hysterical.
The one thing before I forget, because I did want to mention it on the air, and I know you guys heard it because we were talking about it during the intro. I went to the fan access, and like I said, I ordered that not even knowing what I was doing. I just wanted to go. I wanted to be at WrestleMania. Like I said, I was finishing my story. I'm looking at my dad right now doing his therapy. I'm waving to him. But he took me to watch the first one on the big screen. And growing up, I was a diehard, Hulkmaniac. And now I go to a shop every year in Clearwater, right around the corner from the bar, and I always buy my nephews, their annual shirts. Right. And my one nephew thought, because he sees this shirt where it's like a caricature, and he's like, "Is he a cartoon character?" I said, "No. He's a real guy." So first thing I do is I pull up YouTube and I pull up the Andre the Giant match, WrestleMania 3. And then he's like, "Whoa, that's really cool. He picked up that big guy." I said, "Yeah." And then I show him a picture last year, the one meet and greet. And he's like, "Uncle Tony, you know him?" I said, "Dominic, he's my second best friend after you." And then he thought, I thought that was cool. But meeting, I said, like I said before we got on the air, how I met Hulk originally. In 1997, I'm in Lock Haven University. I'm a junior. I was, one of the guys on my team was one of the top guys on our team, and I get picked to box out in Reno, Nevada, East-West Classic. I'm excited. So week before the fight, my coach pulls me aside. He goes, "I got some bad news. Your opponent got injured. And you can't go on this card now. And I said, oh, that sucks. I really wanted to go. So they said, we're taking a 135-pounder in your place because we have an opponent for him. We don't have anybody over 170 for you. And I said, okay. So I kind of just sucked it up, and it is what it is. My teammates come back. They're like, we don't want to tell you this, but check this out. We had a layover in San Francisco, and Hulk Hogan was he was with WCW. They were doing a pay-per-view in Frisco, and he was with the NWO, and he's wearing the black and white NWO shirt. They met him in the airport, and they got a picture shaking his hand. And I was a school journalist, so I had to put that picture in our school newspaper. I mean, talk about knife right in the gut. And every year, the following year, I go out to Reno, and WCW's in Frisco, and I'm with this kid from Penn State. We are standing on chairs just looking for people to see if we could see anybody. Nobody. So I start going to Clearwater. In 2015, I went to Hulk's original bar, which was right by the Tampa airport, called Hogan's Beach. Nothing. Then I would go to a shop every year, buy my nephews their shirts. And my buddy Jason from Lock Haven, like, did you meet him this year? And I'm like, no. He's like, hey, look at my picture, 1997. I'm like, dude, I hate you so much right now. I said, if I ever find this guy from Reno, Nevada, if I ever find him, I don't even know his name, but if I ever find him, I'll get some 2x4s and some rope, and I'll build the ring. And he and I will get in that ring. And the beating he had coming to him in 1997, add 25 years of interest to that beating. And he's going to get it. So now, after COVID, Hulk opens his bar that you guys said you walk by right on the corner of, I think it's like Mandalay Avenue, Clearwater Beach. And so 2021, 2022, they start karaoke night. You can only get a picture if you sing. I said, great, give me my phone. Let's go. Toot, 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 toot. Baby Got Back, Tony Tornado. I'm singing and I'm getting a picture. And I'm standing there and I'm waiting. And they don't have a screen on who's in queue. And I'm waiting. I'm not getting called. And the guy next to me gets called. And I'm like, you typed your thing in the same time I did. He goes, yeah. And I also added like a $50 tip to the DJ to make sure I got called. I'm like, oh my God. And now it's, wrapping up. So I just push my way up to the front because my friend Jason would never let me live it down if I didn't get this photo. So I just he's walking out, I just stick my hand out, I grab his hand, and I do a selfie. And what sucked was somebody said something. So in the picture, he's not even looking at the camera, he's looking at someone else. But it was better than nothing. I said, okay, that's cool. So, and that year, I had a 6-hour delay going to Florida. My plane takes off at 7 a.m, and there was apparently a bad smell on the plane. I'm like, oh, it wasn't me. I swear I didn't do anything. It wasn't my cheesesteak and egg sandwich at 5 a.m, I swear. And they said, no, somebody told me it was a fuel leak. So plane landed. We walked down to a different terminal. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start boarding the plane in a little bit. We just got to find the pilot. I'm like, wait, whoa. Wasn't he on the same plane as we were?
God.
Did y'all lose him already? I'm like, that's code word for the pilot's in the lounge on his third shot of old granddad. So I was supposed to land at like 10 something. I landed at like 3.
Right.
So thank God I didn't have any appearances that day. So the following year, Hulk's doing a meet and greet at his shop. I sign up for it, bring my red Hulkamania shirt, and I brought one for him to sign. And I go in there and I'm like, there he is, man. It's so cool. I go in there, I'm like, hey, Tony Tornado. I thought he's like, oh, Tony Tornado, how you doing, brother? And we're doing the photos. And he's like, oh, you a wrestler? I said, no, man, I'm a boxer. He's like, oh, your face ain't busted up too bad. I'm like, God, thanks, Hulk. And I said, listen, I'm coming to karaoke night on Monday. I brought the Thunder Lips cape. I'm going to wear it while I sing. Oh, my God, brother, what are you going to sing? I'm like, Baby Got Back. He's like, oh, I love that song. Great. So we go there. He signs my shirt. We go there. I'm wearing the Thunder Lips cape. And my friends are there. Okay, put your choices in. Okay, let's go. Bop, bop, bop. Baby Got Back, Tony Tornado. What do you mean that's too long? Because the year before, people were doing like 8-minute songs.
Right.
And that was part of the reason I didn't get to go up. So they said everything's got to be under 4 minutes. Baby Got Back's like 4 minutes, 40 some seconds. I'm like, great. It's tricky. Run DMC. I'm like, I'm going to butcher this. And I'm like, my friends are like, yo, dude, you're second in queue. I'm like, he's not even here yet. So I go up there, I butcher, it's tricky. And then Hulk walks in. He sees me in the cape and the white fedora with the feather sticking up. He's like, yo, brother, you made it. You're singing tonight, right? And I'm like, I already sang. And then he's like, well, get up here. Come on, take a photo with me right now. I'm like, okay. I got ripped there that night because I was drinking all day at the game, and then I was drinking some Hulk smash punch there or whatever, and shots at Jameson. Yeah, I sang karaoke, took a picture with Hulk, went outside, threw up on the light post. So this year I went back. I'm going to behave myself this year. So I go back this year, and I'm walking by. He's not there yet. I'm like, should I go in? It's getting crowded. I see my one boy up at the bar. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go in. What the hell? I ain't doing nothing else. So I go in, I'm hanging with him, and they're like, we have several celebrity guests here tonight to sing karaoke. And it was Roger Clemens and his son Cody. It's with the Phillies organization. And they got up, did a tribute to Toby Keith. I got up, did photos with them. And I'm like, yeah, I'm singing. Baby got back. Let's just see. Worst they can say is no, right?
Right.
You're in queue. I'm like, oh my God, I am. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So I get up there, and my song comes on, and I just start going. I don't need the prompter. I know it. Sang at my cousin Bones' wedding. Remember?
Yes, sir.
And so, and I'm like, as the one lull in the song, I just threw the microphone up. Hulk's in the background, give me the thumbs up, and I'm selfieing. I'm like, this is great.
Did you get one of these in there?
I didn't do that one, but I just did the as I was posing. So I go to the WrestleMania access party, and like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what passes I have or nothing. I just know I bought this, and I'm excited. I'm walking in here, and I'm looking at these big rings, and I'm looking at this, and someone goes, "Hulk's here." I said, "Oh, okay. I'm sure he wants to see me." And I'm like, I see this line forming. They're like, "Oh, he's coming in. This is going to be his photo line." I said, "Well, they said, no, you had to get an extra wristband or whatever. It was like 100 and whatever." And I said, listen, I don't want to sound like a big shot, and I don't want to sound like I'm cool or arrogant, but I literally sang karaoke 5 feet from the man 3 weeks ago, and I did selfies with him. I don't think I need to spend another $190 some for the photo that I just literally got 3 weeks ago. So I'm at this access. I see him in there. I took some pictures while he was standing up there. Now I'm at this access, and they have all these different things you get photos with. They got the ECW set. They got the in your house set. They had the one thing I didn't do because it was like the line was like 2 hours long. They had a entranceway where you could pick the song and you could come and do the guy's entrance down the ramp.
Did they have a WCW like / NWA?
They had the ramp they use now. But you could I heard people come out to the NWO theme. I heard someone come out. You would have loved this, Mike. They came out to Razor Ramon. Do it. How would you have come out to the
like Scott Hall?
Yep. They did the Razor
like this. You strut nail. There you go.
So then the one guy, I saw the one guy do it. He came out and did the toothpick. Yeah.
There you go.
But the one thing that was not enjoyable, as much as I love Cody Rhodes' theme song, when you hear it about 100 times in a span of 2 hours, it's a little much.
What?
Oh yeah, I love that. That is so great. That is so. And then the tale of two photos. I get up there, and they had a ring. You could stand. You couldn't get in the ring, but you could stand in front of it. And they would have staff people there, and they would get your camera, and then you go there, and boom, boom, take your photo, boom, boom, done. Here's your look at it. Look, okay, yep, okay, great, you're done.
On your way.
And, yeah. So that line was long. It was literally 2 minutes. I went up there, and this shirt that I'm wearing, the way it's cut, if I throw the double biceps pose, not that I got huge arms, but if I throw this pose, this shirt cuts so great, it doesn't look like I have a gut. It's great. If I suck it in perfectly, I'm like, I look Diesel. Not to be confused with Kevin Nash. So I do that one. 2 photos, great, done. I see this. They have this huge 6-foot WWE belt there. I'm like, I got to get a photo with this. I'm in this line. I'm like, oh my God, is it slow? I'm like, it's not that long. Why is it so slow? Then I see the guy taking the photos, and he's like this. Okay, let's get your photo. Let's go in. Let's go back. Let's go to the side. Let's go up. Let's go this. And I'm thinking, buddy, it's not a Pulitzer Prize. It's not going to go in, Bill After's magazine. Just take the photo and let's go. I don't need to be standing here for 35 minutes to go like this for 5. Then for me, I'm like, listen, I just want one photo and we can be done. No, let's get him good. And I'm like, I'm thinking, buddy, I can only hold my gut in so long. I'm getting lightheaded. I'm trying to hold it in. I'm like, then I had a access over at Citizens Bank Park, which was the worst Uber driver I ever had to get me from the convention center to CBP.
Wow.
So I go into CBP and I see one of the ushers, and of course I got to be a smart ass. I'm like, wait, you recognize me? He's like, yes, Tony, I recognize you. I see your face. Your Apollo outfit does not cover your face. I know what you look like, but all the food was free. So you go over to like right by Bull's Barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Bull's wasn't open, but some of those other concessions were, and they were just putting food out. Like you grab like a burger, you grab some fries, you grab a soda. The only things you really had to pay for are some of the beer stands.
Oh, okay.
And so then the guy goes, Chickies and Pizzas that open over there with free crab fries. I don't even think he got the word fries out of his mouth. I was gone. I was like a cartoon character. And then I texted my mom. I said, thank God your sister Carol's not here. My Aunt Carol that you met. I said, because she would have walked over there and just took the whole tray and be like, thank you.
So we got some comments rolling in here. I wanted to get to some of our comments here. We got one from Nogginator, which is actually a good friend of mine, Chris, who is actually a host of one of our shows here on the SMN network. Favorite wrestling moment for you guys? I'll begin with you, Fuji. What's your favorite wrestling moment?
Probably too many to. I really have to think about that. I mean, I've been to a lot of wrestling matches, Civic Center with NWA wrestling, the Spectrum, Wells Fargo. I mean, speaking of WrestleMania, I was actually at the WrestleMania. Was it 20 that was here, Tony?
What, the one 1999?
Yeah, I was at
that
1999.
Yeah, it was like 14, like 14 or 15.
15, yeah, it was Stone Cold and The Rock.
Yeah, I was there. Actually, wrestling. Probably say you guys may remember this, Tony, but it was NWA. It was a Veteran Stadium in 1986. It was the Great American Bash.
I remember the Great American Bash.
It was Road Warrior Hawk against Ric Flair for the title.
I don't remember that one directly. I was more WWF back then, almost exclusively. I had some friends that were like more NWA fans, so we'd like have that big argument. We'd have like the Hogan versus Flair argument. Like
probably the best match I ever seen was at the Philadelphia Civic Center. It was a scaffold match, and it was the Road Warriors against the Midnight Express.
They said Bobby Eaton was one of the few guys that could really put a show on during a scaffold match.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do mine in kind of a two-part, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go old school on these. I mean, there's been so many great matches over the years, and so many great guys that I've looked up to and I've enjoyed watching. Guys like we've mentioned, like Mick Foley, guys like Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Bret Hart. I'm gonna go back to the golden era for two stories. Obviously, the big one, and amazingly, I didn't get to watch this one live, was Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, WrestleMania 3. And I didn't get to watch it live because I was on vacation that week. It was a pre-planned vacation. We had planned it months in advance to visit a family down in Florida. And it's happened to be the same Sunday as WrestleMania 3. So if it actually even came across the ticker parade on ESPN, like Hulk Hogan defeats Andre the Giant, it's like, oh my God, he did it, he beat him. But just watching that, such an iconic moment, like the guy that was like this unbeatable monster, and yeah, he had been slammed earlier in his career when he was more athletic and he was lighter, but you could see if you go back and you look at Andre 82, 83 versus him at 87, it looks like, and especially even 80, it looks like two different guys. I mean,
Andre was, not to call you Andre, you could see he was aging, like his back problems,
and he was just getting so much larger. I mean, he was always tall, but now you could see his body was getting wider and bigger.
When not to call you off, but when you go back to like that Hogan WrestleMania 3 match, that was kind of like the changing of the torch being passed from Andre the Giant to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
In our era.
Now, the other match, and you can find it on YouTube, and if you can, I highly, 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 highly suggest you watch it. It was one of my favorites when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And this is like when the Spectrum, you could run like return matches for like 3, 4, and 5 months straight.
Right.
And because of the Spectrum, you'd have like those monthly cards, and they were in among themselves like their own storylines. A lot of them you wouldn't like see on like the main like USA or anything like that. They were just like their own little like territorial. So like they'd probably run the same storyline at the Civic Center or the Nassau Coliseum or wherever else.
Right.
So they did a storyline in late '84. And it was after Sergeant Slaughter had turned face after he had the run-in with the Iron Sheik. So Slaughter was a heel, and basically the way they turned him face was he's walking to the ring and the Sheik's walking out of the ring, and they kind of bump paths. And Freddie Blassie says something, and Slaughter just like, "You're a traitor. You're a traitor to America." And he went from being a despised heel to an instant baby face like that.
Right.
So now they're running this thing where it's going to be the Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, who I met a couple years ago before his passing. They were going to wrestle Sergeant Slaughter and a partner of his choosing. And whenever they say a partner of his choosing, they always pick somebody horrible for the first. So Slaughter had a guy, and it was Private Terry Daniels. And Private Terry Daniels was like a jobber, but he was like Sergeant Cobra Corps kind of Marine Corps guy. Yeah. And so the Sheik and Volkov beat the hell out of Private Terry Daniels. So now Slaughter's got to get a different partner for next month, and it's the Junkyard Dog. It's like, oh, shit, here we go. Yeah, here we go. And then they have the one match, and it ends up in a double disqualification. So now they said, we're going to have the third return match, and it's going to be under my favorite word, a Texas Tornado Rules match. And all guys in the ring, all weapons. And Slaughter and the Dog came out to like the Marine Corps theme, and the place was just so fired up. I mean, it was like real. This was like, I mean, people were waving American flags. Looked like the scene in Rocky IV when Apollo comes to the ring, waving American flags. And when Slaughter and the Dog finally won, that place erupted.
I was there.
And and I watched that match on YouTube frequently. I hadn't seen it in years, and I found it. I had it on a VHS tape. I watched that match so much, I actually broke the tape.
Oh, back then, for anybody that remembers the VHS tapes, that tape was so delicate, basically, especially the cassette tapes.
Yeah,
like if you would get stuck, you'd have to rewind the
Use
thing
the pencil.
with like pencil or a pen.
Yeah.
Let's get through some more comments here. We got another comment coming in from Chris, my good friend Nogginator here. What do you think about non-wrestlers like Logan Paul taking over the scene? I like Logan Paul. I think what he's doing is great. I think WWE needs to have, I shouldn't say they need to have guys like this because they already have larger than life characters, but having a guy like Logan Paul, it's can only help elevate the programs that they have.
Dylan, I agree with you 100% on that, because as I was there at WrestleMania, the guy that was sitting next to me, and his exact words were, "I hate how good he is."
Exactly.
He's a great heel. He makes a great heel because he's easy to hate, but at the same time, he's talented.
Yeah.
You can't ask for more than that. Now, I don't know him, in real life, because I know him and his brother have like these personas and that's how they're making money. And with Jake Paul doing the boxing, okay, that grinds my gears a little bit because I'm a traditionalist when it comes to boxing. But at the same time, you know what? He's taking what's available now that wasn't available years ago, which is social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and both of them have built such cult followings, and now a lot of times people want to see them get put in their place. Jake Paul is going to make a lot of money with this Mike Tyson exhibition because people are praying to God that Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson and wallops the hell out of him.
Hopefully,
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that's going to happen because I think they're going to put so many regulations on it that it's going to be people are going to pay for it to hope something happens, and they're going to get let down.
Hopefully he's not another Peter McNeely after Tyson came out of jail and beat him in
It very well might be a Mayweather Logan Paul situation where everybody had all these high expectations of Mayweather knocking out Paul, and I mean, the thing is, nobody realizes that Mayweather doesn't knock out people; he just fights strategically. That's not Mayweather's style.
So Logan,
now, I was going to say Logan Paul kind of reminds me of how DDP got involved in the wrestling.
Oh my God!
Game, being a manager, and then originally he was a bar owner, and
has anybody ever had a chance to talk to Diamond Dallas Page?
Nah, you know what? I was actually trying to reach out to him to get him on this program, but I don't know
if you know what, it's not out of the question, because my buddy that does that boxing podcast that I do co-hosting on sometimes, we got DDP on probably about a good 11 or 12 years ago. It was right when we were finding out about him doing the yoga program. I always laughed at yoga, and I was uneducated. I always laughed at yoga because I would see a guy do it at the gym, and it was like, oh, he's lifting his leg over his head. I'm like, and you're wearing these little spandex outfits, and I'm like, okay, that's so unmacho, right? And then years later, I'm talking to Diamond Dallas Page on the phone, and he's like, yeah, I do this yoga program, and I'm like, Diamond Dallas Page does yoga, and then he goes, he was doing a program at the time with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, and he was making a lot of money, and he hurt his back. And his wife, Kimberly, at the time, she was like a fitness model, and she was in tremendous shape. And she goes, you ought to try yoga. And he's like, bro, I don't do that sissy BS. Ha, ha. She goes, try this stretch. And she showed him a stretch, and he's like, oh my God, that feels so good. And she goes, well, try this. So he goes, imagine if you can do what he calls dynamic resistance. So I've done his yoga tapes, and I have one picture where you can see him on the TV in the background, and you just see me in like just drenched. My shirt was a red shirt; it was almost black, and I'm sitting there, I'm giving a thumbs up, but I'm really cursing him out, inaudibly, because it was so hard. Someone goes, "What was your heart rate up to?" I said, "I never left the spot that I was standing in. My heart rate was up to 150."
Wow.
And a lot of the dynamic resistance is, he goes, you make your resistance out of nothing. So he goes, okay, you tense everything right now. Like you plant your feet in, your legs are tensed, your quads are tensed, your calves are tensed. You reach out like you're holding like a giant invisible medicine ball. And right now, if you can see my arms. My arms are all tense. Like you see the muscles. And he goes, now you pull that ball in. And the whole time you can feel it in your chest. My chest is tight. Then he goes, or you're doing like bicep curls with no weights in your hand. But you see like how my arms are tense while I'm doing that. Right now, my heart rate's already going up. And so he'll have you do the stretches. He'll have you do like the down dog poses and the broken table poses. He'll have you do something like this. He does, it's called the diamond cutter. You tense everything. You go into the diamond cutter pose all the way up over your head. You see how my muscles are tensed? You come out here
and then you go bang.
And he goes, when you do all that, your heart rate is just jacking up. So if you ever get a chance, look him up on YouTube. You'll be floored.
Right.
You do one of those videos, you'll be thanking him and cursing him at the same time. He took one guy that was a disabled veteran. He did. Here's what he did for two guys. One guy was a disabled veteran named Arthur. Guy was disabled from parachuting. He was a parachute jumper. And he was 300 pounds, couldn't walk without a back brace and canes. And you see the video, if you look up DDP Arthur on YouTube, he takes this guy, and you see the guy a few months later holding his pants up because he had lost so much weight. He lost his gut. And then next thing you know, the guy that was walking with canes is running sprints up and down the beach.
Jesus.
Another guy, if you look up, he helped out Butterbean.
Right, Butterbean, just recently.
Yeah, because Butterbean, because of all the years of the boxing and then the kickboxing and the MMA and everything he was doing, he shattered his hip, I think in an MMA fight or a kickboxing fight. And he needed like a hip replacement because the bone had actually fused. So his hip wasn't moving anymore. It was just like a big mass in there, know? And he could barely walk. He was all hunched over like this. He was 400 and some pounds. And they said, well, you can't have the surgery unless your body mass is under whatever. So he had to get down to like 380 or something or whatever it was.
Right.
He ended up getting down to 299.
Well, if you remember, I mean, he helped, Scott Hall
Yeah, Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake, and he really turned a lot of people's lives around.
And you know what? I had, like I said, I had the pleasure of interviewing Diamond Dallas Page about 10, 11 years ago. He is the guy that he played on TV. Like a lot of, like even Mick Foley said, like he is a guy. It's like you would see guys that are characters that are nothing like that in real life.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I'd be traveling with Diamond Dallas Page, and he goes, everything he did was just over the top. And I relate to that because that's the way I like to be. It's like he's like he'd be rolling through a toll booth. Hey, how you doing today, lady? If I was doing any better, I'd have to be two of myself just to handle it. They're like, oh Jesus.
Oh, I mean,
but that's him.
I believe it's on the A&E channel. WWE did, I think, something on him with Legends.
Yeah.
Like how Kimberly, his wife, I think it's his ex-wife now.
Yeah, it's ex-wife now. He's
got him in the yoga and just changed his life completely around.
Fuji, I try. Even you can find one of his videos on YouTube.
Right.
Trust me, try one of the easier ones like Energy or not Diamond Cut. Yeah, Energy. Because Diamond Cutter is one of the tougher ones, and you'll be regretting that one. It was Energy, and then there was one Power, maybe I forget what it was called.
Right.
But you do one of them early ones. It's like a 20-minute video, and you walk out of there, you're like, but your body when you're done, you feel like you're 3 inches taller because he shows you how to like elongate your spine and uncompress your spine. Amazing.
Wow.
Let's take a look at some other comments. Let's switch the ship up here a little bit. We'll talk a little bit of baseball here. Did you all see the Nestor Cortez pump fake pitch today? It was apparently a balk. I'm not too sure if that's a question at the end. Tony, did you see it at all? Fuji, did you guys see it?
No,
I did not. I only got to see a little bit of today's Phillies game. So unfortunately, I didn't catch any other baseball today. And even because I was doing so much in the yard today, I was helping. My dad just had major shoulder surgery. So when I was trying to help him fix something on his tractor, I was out there for a couple hours with him. So I'd run in, I'd follow some of the game on my phone. I'd run in, watch an inning or two. I saw the grand slam, and I'm like, that's enough of that today.
Well,
but that's all I've seen so far.
Well, Tony, let me ask this, and I'll ask. We talked a little bit about this last week, Fuge. The Philadelphia Phillies have a new jersey in the repertoire, if you will, with the new City Connect jersey. And I don't know if Tony's if that's a reference there to what these jerseys are.
Yeah, that's exactly.
What are your guys' thoughts?
What are they? The Jacksonville Jaguars now? I'm not a fan.
The hat, you know what? The hat's nice.
Yeah, the hat's all right. I mean, yeah, but it's like, I understand the colors of Pennsylvania are blue and yellow. I understand that. Right. The Philadelphia Phillies are red, white, and blue.
Just like you see in the backdrop here, red and white.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan. I saw when they were coming, and I know it's a money grab. Because now it's like when even with the Eagles, when they brought back the Kelly Greens, it's like, great, we're going to do the Kelly Greens. So now people want to buy the jerseys. Right. Now, the one thing when they were doing the Kelly Green scheme this year that I saw, and I laughed at it, I was like, they were offering them in the Kelly Green and white, but they were only wearing the jerseys 2 home games, which they both wore green. There was no white jersey. So that was just another thing. Hey, we're going to do the white jersey with the Kelly Green numbers again. It didn't even look right because it had a green collar and green around and I'm like, that was never the original Kelly Green.
Yeah, and one thing interesting too about it is I just saw this recently reported is that the NFL next year will be allowing teams to have 3 helmets next year. So there might be a chance we see some teams decide to go with some specialty throwback helmets or some specialty alternate helmets, and maybe the Eagles will bring back those black helmets that they had.
I like the black
uniform.
Yeah, I actually believe they were approved for the black helmets in next year, 2025.
Yeah. I like the black helmets. I see. I like the all black. Right. I always did. Like, you know what? I didn't mind because I remember growing up. You're watching the NFL, and it was like, if you were the home team, you generally wore the dark color. The away team wore the white color, and it was like you had your jerseys, and that's what it was. You'd have like like Washington rarely ever wore their burgundy jerseys, even at home. They always wore the white jerseys with the the burgundy or maroonish pants. Right. But if they wore their burgundy jerseys, they wore white pants. They were the only team I remember at the time that had two different pant colors. Oh. Back in the day, like the Eagles had the Kelly green jersey and the white jersey with silver pants. That's what it was.
And the green stripe down the side.
Yeah, and the green stripe down the side. Dallas rarely wore their navy blue jerseys.
They're always wearing white.
But they would always wear silver pants. Right. Now it's like you get so many color combinations. It's like, oh, today I'm going to wear the midnight green jersey with midnight green pants, or I'm going to wear the midnight green with white pants. I'm going to wear the white with midnight green, white with black, black with white, black with green. It's like a lot of color, but at the same time, what's it all evolved to? Dinero. Money. Yeah, and I'm not talking about Robert De Niro. I'm talking about money. It's like I can sell a black jersey, I can sell a green jersey, I can sell a white jersey, I can sell a Kelly green, I can sell a white with Kelly green. I can do this scheme on it. I can change one little thing. It's like, they have new jerseys now. You got to get one, and it's like they change the font on like their eyes. Something stupid, but it's like, oh my god, I got to get this new jersey.
Well, it's funny because that's actually what happened this year. Is the Eagles have new uniforms because they changed the font on the actual uniform. It's got the new updated Eagles font that they're using now, which
that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that one either.
They're trying to go. They try to be a little old school with it, but it's not old school. It's very new age.
Well, it's just like the lettering now.
Yep.
It's just, like you said, it has like that Eagles. The logo that they came out with last year that says Eagles, and it looks stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, just keep it the way it was.
Talking about the Eagles, a few weeks ago, and I mean, I've been lucky with, just being places at the right place at the right time. So a few years ago, where I live, outside the city. So where I live, I have the perfect combination if I want to go to the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs AAA team, the Reading Phillies AA team, or the Philadelphia Phillies Major League team. They all take me about an hour to get there. Two of them I'll drive, Reading and Lehigh. Mm-hmm. Phillies, I'll take about maybe an hour and a half to get there on the train and the subway. But I'm okay with that because that way you're not driving in the city and paying astronomical parking. So where I live, not far from me, about 15, 20 minutes, is a well-known Italian bakery. Collegeville Italian Bakery. Dylan, if you get a chance, look this place up, and you'll see you're going to get shocked. Well, not with the food they have, but like a lot of the people that go there. I mean, they've had Ric Flair there. I had lunch with Marvelous Mark Merrow there, the Wild Man. Johnny B. Bad. I had lunch with him there a couple years ago.
Really?
One guy that's a regular there here's funny. I'm watching Monday Night Raw back around 1995, 96. Do you remember a guy, Salvatore Sincere? He was a mid-card guy.
I remember the name.
Dylan, you remember him?
No, I do not know.
He was around. Okay, yeah, you're a little bit before your time. So he was around 95, 96. He was a mid-card guy. And he'd come out with the white fedora and he'd have a white jacket on. He'd be like, "Oh, you beautiful people. You're so gorgeous. I love you so much." And you're looking at this guy and you're like, okay, he is not from Italy. Okay. So I'm sitting there watching Monday Night Raw, and he's going to do a program with Mark Merrow. And they did it so legit, it looked like it was real heat, which we found out later that it was all a work. So Mark Merrow gets in the ring, and he's doing the boxing gimmick at the time, Marvelous Mark Merrow. And he goes, "Why am I even put in the ring with bums like you? You're not even on my level. You're a fraud. You're not from Italy." I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, okay, I know he's not from Italy. He goes, "You're from Norristown, Pennsylvania." And I said, did he just say Norristown, Pennsylvania on Monday Night Raw? Because that's only 20 minutes from where I live, right outside of Philly. And so years later, I come to find out that this guy, his name's Tom Brandi, was the first guy that Rock ever wrestled on TV under the Salvatore Sincere gimmick. They wrestled on Monday Night Raw when he was Rocky Maivia. And Rocky beat him with the shoulder breaker. He was in the Undertaker's retirement video. They have a video, like a picture of the Undertaker lifting him over his head, choking him. Mm-hmm. He wrestled like Shawn Michaels, all the big names, Stone Cold. So he lives 20 minutes from me. I have lunch with him all the time at this Collegeville bakery. So a couple years ago, the owner goes to me. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing Saturday night?" And I said, "Nothing." He goes, "Come in. We have a surprise for you." I said, "Okay. What is it?" He goes, "That's not how surprises work." And I'm thinking, okay, the Phillies are in spring training, so I don't want to wear my Phillies outfit. And I'm like, Can it be Eagles? Can it be wrestling? Can it be Sixers? Can it be Flyers? I'm like, what is it? And then I look and I see that there was an autograph signing about 15 minutes away in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. And I said, I bet he's got somebody from the autograph signing coming in. And then I put two and two together. Brandon Graham has his own pizza design there. Brandon Graham designed his own pizza there.
Really?
I'm like, I bet it's BG. I bet it is. Yeah, and the pizza's really good. It's Detroit style because that's where BG's from. Right. And I said, I bet it's BG. I said, okay. Then the owner calls me. He goes, we got to postpone Saturday night. We're going to do it the following Saturday. I said, well, I'm going to be in Clearwater. He goes, you're going to miss it. I said, well, can you tell me what I'm going to miss? He's like, no. I said, okay. Well, I'm going to bet that it's BG. So I'm going to this signing that Brandon Graham is going to be at, and I buy the pizza on the way there. So the box is like a rectangular box, and they put Brandon Graham's sticker on it. It says BG Sac 55 Detroit Pizza. So I cut the top of the box out. I walk into this signing, and I'm like, hey, I brought your pizza box to sign. He goes, yo, I'm going to be there like next weekend. I said, I knew it was you. So I take a picture of Brandon Graham, and I send it to the owner. I'm like, yeah, look who I'm hanging out with. He goes, had to ruin my surprise, didn't you? So I'm in Florida the following week, and it snowed up here. So they postponed Brandon another week. So I come in one day, and they said, yo, can you be back in 2 hours? I said, I can drive home and be back in 40 minutes. So should I go put my Eagles jersey on is what you're saying? He's like, yeah, but shh, be quiet. I don't want you putting it on Facebook. This place will get mobbed. So I came in about an hour later, sat down, had lunch with Brandon Graham. Brought my mom with me because during the Super Bowl 52, when they beat the Patriots, my mom, for 3 quarters and 13 minutes, uttered not a word as I paced 6 miles back and forth in the family room. All of a sudden, she cups her hands to her mouth and goes, sack Brady. Next play, sack fumble. Wow. So I tell Brandon that. So I bring my mom. He runs up, grabs her, a big hug. Heard you wanted me to sack Brady. I got him for you. So this year, I'm going to the same signing. And I'm like, okay, this year they're going to have all these different people there. Dick Vermeil's going to be there. I want to, tell him about how I'm a Libra instead of a Virgo because of that opening game against Dallas in 1976. I wanted to meet Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP. You got to meet the Super Bowl MVP, right? So I apparently cannot read directions. So I get in the Doug Peterson line, and Doug Peterson's picture is right next to my picture on the Collegeville Bakery Wall of Fame. So I'm saying to Doug Peterson, hey, we're basically wall neighbors at the Collegeville Bakery. And he's laughing. We're talking a little bit. And the exit is this way. Mm-hmm. Me goes this way. So I walk out the wrong curtain. And who's standing there? Big Dom from the Eagles, the security guy. So, and Big Dom was apparently still real good friends with Andy Reid. That's why he was in the booth with Taylor Swift and Jason Kelce and all them. So I go to Big Dom. I start pulling a little Italian talk to him. I was like, Big Dom, I saw you were at the Super Bowl. You throw the Malaki on the 49ers, make them lose? And he goes, smiles at me. I said, can we take a photo? He's like, yeah. So I take a photo of Big Dom. I sent it to my buddy at the Collegeville Bakery, Steve. I said, yo, Steve, look at this. I'm hanging out with Big Dom. He's like, yo, bro, can you get him here? I said, Steve, I can't kidnap him. He's enormous. So I'm talking to this girl. I'm in the same line. Every line I was in, this girl was in, Adriana. Italian girl. So I'm talking to her, and she's like, oh my God, I'm going to meet Nick Foles. I can't wait. I'm like, I'm going to meet Nick Foles. Oh my God, I went up and got a picture of Brandon Graham. I'm like, I'm going in his autograph line. Oh my God, I just met Dick Vermeil. I'm like, I just met Dick Vermeil. So we're talking here and there, and I'm talking about Collegeville Bakery, and she goes, I really want to go. I said, why don't you go after this? Because I'm going there. And I said, I heard Big Dom's going to be there. She's like, really? I'm like, no, I'm playing. I'm like, no, he's not going to be there. So I meet her there. And we walk in, and I see the owner, Steve, sitting at a table, and he waves over to me. And I see a very large figure sitting across from him. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's Big Dom. They're like, yo, why don't you come sit with us? I sat with Big Dom for an hour.
Wow.
And then Steve, the owner, goes, hey, Dom, look up at the wall. There he is. And then he goes, and because when Big Dom got there, he goes, yeah, see, you met a friend of mine at the signing today. He's on our wall right here. So then when I came in, he goes, there he is, Big Dom. There he is. That's to put 2 and 2 together.
Nice. That must have been an honor.
Yeah. Someone asked me, what did Big Dom eat? I said, the menu. He ate whatever he wanted.
That's awesome. Well, let's wrap things up here. I want to get into some Eagles talk while we're on the topic. The draft is coming up, guys. 22nd pick for you guys in the NFL draft. Now, Tony, you're not going to like this.
I'm sorry.
You're not going to like this. I apologize.
I am a Tampa
Bay Buccaneers.
You know what? Hey, you won this year. You know, I can't take anything away from you. And everybody in Tampa has always been so nice to me when I fly into town. So,
right,
I give you guys all the respect in the world. You won it a couple years ago, so
I appreciate that.
I tip my hat to you guys.
Thanks.
And hey, like I said, Eagles beat Tampa early in the season, and Tampa throttled them in the playoffs. It was like a tale of two different teams.
Oh,
absolutely.
No, they didn't show up at all.
Absolutely. So, what do you guys think, though? 22nd pick for this year's draft. You got the draft here in a week and a half. What do you guys think the Eagles?
Offensive tackle, Lane Johnson's replacement.
You know what, Fuji, and I can see that because they have a lot of needs right now. It's like you were going into last year's draft and you're like, this is a complete football team. But now it's like you lost, Jason Kelsey retired. So now it's like you got to move Cam Jurgens over to center. So now you got to hopefully you can pick up Tyler Steen can step in to play guard or that other guy they just signed. So you hope. Yeah, Hennessy, right. So offensive lines definitely need because you let Jack Driscoll go. So there's going to be a need for a tackle. So that's definitely a possibility, number 22. With the secondary, like a lot of people have been talking secondary, like guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry or Cooper DeJean, guys like that. There's another guy's name that's escaping me right now. So that could be a popular pick, but let's not forget that what was that boy Isaiah Rodgers that they got from Indy that was suspended for a year? I mean, he might be a baller. Yeah, he might be a baller, and he might be a long-term solution at corner.
I think he's probably more of a slot guy. I think he played in Indianapolis.
Okay, but like I said, so there, I think that helps. And then you got Kylie Ringo that looks like he could be a potential good player in this league.
You got Sidney Brown coming off the ACL.
Sidney Brown, and he's going to be at safety. And then who was the guy that got undrafted last year? There was Kylie Ringo they drafted in the 4th round. And they got another guy that was undrafted that started a few games.
Eli Ricks.
Yes, Eli Ricks from Alabama. Mm-hmm. So secondary might not be as big as a weakness as people think.
Right.
I don't think they'll go linebacker in the 1st round. I think they're going to get a linebacker in the 2nd round, whether that's
no, they got 2 second-round picks as well.
Yeah, at 50 and 53. So you're going to have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. out there. What was the other guy's name? Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper. That's potentially. Yeah. So you're looking at one of those two that could be a good linebacking pickup. You also, Nakobe Dean's coming back. He's had some injury issues, but he was a 1st-round talent that fell to the 3rd round for a reason. I think we're seeing why now. Right. I think his body might not be able to handle the size of the NFL, but there's definitely 1st-round talent there. And then they signed a couple linebackers. So, linebacker might not be his big weakness. So I think you're either going to see 1st round is probably going to be an offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
2nd round, I think you're going to see a linebacker and maybe a wide receiver. Because outside of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, they've picked up a couple wide receivers, but it's like
Devontae Parker
Devontae Parker, who had the worst separation time in the NFL last year, and so I think they're going to get maybe somebody to be in that slot. Because I really liked Quez Watkins when they drafted him, but boy, did he fall off bad.
Oh yeah, went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think he was part of the reason they lost that Super Bowl. That one crucial drop that he had.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think I can definitely see the offensive tackle. I wouldn't be surprised if they bolster up their defensive line in there somewhere with the loss of Fletcher Cox. You got to hope that a guy like Jordan Davis finally puts it all together because he was a guy that he has such size and athleticism that he's not putting it together, and he wears down so fast, and then he gets blown off the ball. A guy that's 6'6", 340 cannot get blown off the ball like that. He should be eating up space.
Melvin Williams should be starting over Jordan Davis.
I think you're right. I think what you're going to see a lot of now with Vic Fangio's defense is you had guys that were running Fangio light the last 2 years, and Gannon and Sean Desai, and even to a degree Matt Patricia. So now I wasn't always a big fan of that, too deep safety. Now I know it worked great with Tampa for all those years. They called it the Tampa 2 for a reason.
Right.
But you know why it worked with Tampa for all those years? Because Tampa had great linebackers. They had guys like Derek Brooks out there. Yeah, they had Levante David, great linebacker. Yep. So you can run a scheme like that with high safeties because your linebackers can not just stuff the run, but they can cover the middle of the field. So I think they're going to give Fangio more of a say on who he wants. Are they going to run more of a 3-4? I think they will.
I believe they are, because
I think they're going to put Jordan Davis right on the nose with his 340 pounds. They're going to get guys like Jalen Carter. They're going to put him in that technique between the guard and the tackle. Guy like Milton Williams there. Mora Jomo. Nolan Smith is going to be an edge rusher. Huff is. When they signed Huff, I kind of knew that was going to spell the end of Nolan Smith, and I think part of it was not Nolan Smith. Hassan Reddick. Because Reddick, I think they said he met with Fangio and he didn't like the direction. And I think a lot of guys, if you don't like the scheme a guy's going to run, then you're not going to be successful in it because you're going to rebel. Fangio is going to run a scheme, and we might not always agree with it. Because, hey, remember, you and I grew up with the gangrene.
Oh, yeah.
Reggie, the Buddy Ryan, Bud Carson defense. Then we got spoiled with Jim Johnson. So we were a very, very aggressive defense, and now you're going to go into more of a read and react kind of. But when Reddick was getting dropped into coverage by Matt Patricia, you could tell he wanted out.
Oh, yeah. That pretty much, we shall see in 11 days from now.
Yeah. Did you find your ticket for the draft party yet?
No, I did not.
See, I have to work now that I'm working back in the city 3 days a week. I made a smart comment on a conference call the other week, and I'm surprised I didn't get in trouble for it, but they're kind of used to me now.
Yeah.
Dylan, just to let you know, I worked for a company in our Center City office, Independence Blue Cross, major insurance company. I was on site with a client in the suburbs for 4 years, and I loved it because I didn't have to go to the city every day, didn't have to train every day, and I could kind of run my own schedule. 4 years ago, they said, we're bringing you back to the city because you did such a good job. We're basically punishing you because you did a good job, and we don't need you in this client. I wrote my resignation letter. I was going to leave. I was going to get my bonus, go to Clearwater, come back and leave. And COVID sent us home. So I've been home for 4 years. This year, they said, no, we're going to bring you back 3 days a week. No flexibility. I'm like, and I made a smart comment on a conference call. I said, let me ask you a question. What if I usually do my Phillies games on Friday, Saturday, or Sundays, but I'll pick sometimes if there's a good promotion, like a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. I said, what if I want to go to a Phillies Tuesday night game? Like last year, I went down to meet John Kruk on a Tuesday night. I worked till about 2:00 that day in my home office where I'm sitting right now. And then I suited up when I was getting ready to leave, jumped in the car, train, subway, went to the game. I said, are you going to ask me to travel almost 2 hours into the office, work a half day, travel 2 hours back home, change into my Phillies outfit, and then travel almost 2 hours back to the ballpark? Because why don't I just take the whole day off? And somebody goes, well, why wouldn't you just come in and go right from the game? I said, because I don't think a sequined Uncle Sam Apollo Creed outfit is corporate dress code appropriate.
True.
This is why I get in trouble sometimes. I am so transparent.
Oh, I love it.
They're like, you are such an ass. I'm like, I know. Thank you very much for pointing it out.
Oh, man.
But I'm honest. I said, hey, if you say it's okay, I'll come in. I'll work the whole day as Uncle Sam. I mean, I really don't care. They call me Yo Apollo. And the thing is, here's where I get mad. I said, I'm not client facing. I'm on my work laptop right now. This is the most that somebody has actually seen me through my work laptop in probably the past 8-9 months. And probably the last time and the last person that saw me in a team or a call like this was probably Fuji when I did a call with him last year. And then I did another podcast somewhere else where I used my work laptop.
Nice.
But my if I'm doing like a Teams meeting, it's usually audio only. You don't got to see me. You know what I look like.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And who wants to see this face more than
there you go.
The one day they're like,
come on, man, it's a good looking face.
The one day they're like, we're all working from home, and they're like, hey, everybody, be camera ready today. Oh, okay. Tony. And I actually logged onto the call, even though I wasn't working that day, but they were going to discuss something that I wanted to be part of. So I logged on. I said, oh, I'm here. And they're like,
I love it.
Sun's out, guns out. I'm like, dude, you got me on my day off, but I wanted to be on this call because I wanted to discuss a few things. They're like, sun's out, guns out. I'm like, it's right.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Well, Tony,
it's been a privilege and a
food. It's always a privilege.
It's been great having you on.
What was it? What was the word in the first Back to the Future movie when Marty first went back and he was about to go back to 1985 and he was talking to his parents and his father's like, he's like, it's been educational.
Right. Oh, want to thank you for coming on.
I want to thank you for having me.
Anytime, you're always welcome to come back on.
Yeah, Tony, thanks so much for jumping on, man. We really
absolutely. And next time, what we'll do is I'll if we want to get more as the baseball season's going, we'll schedule it one night. Like, hey, this Sunday worked out great because, like I said, when you first asked me, I was like, well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I commute so much to the city. I get home and like my mind is haywire. I sometimes don't get home until 7:30 at night.
Wow.
If I go to the gym afterwards. But when you said Sunday, I'm like, dude, that works out great. So if we want to get more into baseball as the season's getting on, I'll Apollo it up for everybody. If we want to do a Rocky show the one time and just talk all about the Italian Stallion, I wrote a review of all 9 of the Rocky movies.
I remember you told me.
Yeah, the Rocky Creed franchise. Yeah. I obviously gave Creed 2 a high ranking because of that 3 seconds that you can see me in it.
Right.
Best supporting extra 2018.
Nice.
But I trashed Creed 3. I was reading my reviews tonight. So I'll throw on something Rocky related. We'll talk about the Rocky Run. How I showed Hulk Hogan's son how I dress as Thunderlips while I run a 5K.
That's awesome.
Dylan, you know what my best friend said to me one time? He goes, I think you got brain damage. And I said to him, I said, you know what? That really, really, really hurts my feelings. He goes, it does? I said, yeah. At the time, we were friends for 35 years. I said, we've been friends for 30-some years, and you're just figuring this out now?
Right.
Oh, man.
All right, Tone. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Definitely have to have you back on.
Absolutely.
Well, right, Tony. Pooch, I'll let you close it out. It's your show, man. Gotta let you close it out.
Pooch, close it out.
Right, Tony, we gotta get the dynamics still here. We're only in episode 2, so we're getting dynamics.
We'll get it down.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I was like, when I started doing a podcast co-host 15 plus years ago, and the first guest we ever had on was an MMA guy, and he was absolutely terrible. And we're trying to get our dynamics down as well. And he was mocking us, and he was trying to do an echo, and we couldn't get questions across. And he was so unprofessional. So I told the guy that runs the show, I said, listen, I got guest number 2. And I got an old sparring partner and training partner of mine from Philly. Mm-hmm. And he is kind of like me, except he makes me look like a mute. That's how good he is. So we put him on. We asked him a question. We just dropped our microphones for 3 hours, and we said, go.
Right.
So, hey, that's the thing. Is like, hey, I understand, starting out the dynamics and getting everything, your feet wet. And I'll be happy to come do this again. Like I said, I'll do the Apollo gimmick one time. We'll talk to Phillies. I'll come out. We'll talk Rocky one time. Right. You name it. I'm easy to find.
Tell everybody where they can find Superfan Tony.
Oh yeah, they can. I got a couple different methods here, and I got my Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/Phillies, like the baseball team Tornado. So you got Phillies Tornado. That's also my hashtag. So if you're ever taking a photo with me down at the stadium and you're posting it on your social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called now, hashtag Phillies Tornado. On my Instagram, my handle is Tornado TP. And people say, what is that, Tornado toilet paper? Yes, it is. It's also Tony Penical, my first and last initial. Thank you very much. But yeah, Tornado TP, you can also find me.
For Tony, Dylan, Mike Fuji signing off. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Everybody, have a good week. Have a good night. Be safe.
All right, Fuji.